Today, we are present here for a lecture on Anthropology for Archaeology, organized by the Institute for Oriental Study, Thane. On this occasion, I, Siddhi Pawar, would like to welcome our respected guest, Associate Professor and in charge of the Anthropology Laboratory at Deccan College, Postgraduate and Research Institute, Pune, Dr. Veena Mushrif, Tripathy Madam. The Honorable Chairman of our college, Dr. Vijay Bedekar Sir, respected Sumedha Bedekar Madam, respected Principal, Dr. Suchitra Naik Madam. I would also like to welcome a friend, philosopher, and guide of the Institute, respected Dr. Shivendra Kargaonkar. I also welcome all teachers, students, and everyone present here for this program. Now, I would like to request all dignitaries to please take their positions on the dais. The Institute for Oriental Study is a 40 years old voluntary organization working for the promotion of Indian culture. To achieve its objectives, the Institute has been conducting conferences, workshops, exhibitions, film shows, as well as educational tours with great enthusiasm. The Institute also has a small museum with around 900 different artifacts and 600 coins of different eras. Our research library also has an enormous collection of around 80,000 books and 3,500 manuscripts. Today's lecture on Anthropology for Archaeology is one of the many lectures that have been organized by the Institute to create awareness among students, teachers, enthusiasts in similar as well as different fields. Now, I would like to ask the Honorable Chairman of our college, Dr. Vijay Bedekar Sir, to felicitate our guest speaker, Dr. Veena Mushrif, Tripathy Madam. Now, I would like to ask Ankur Kani Sir to felicitate the chairman of our college, Dr. Vijay Bedekar Sir. Now, I would like to ask Ankur Kani Sir to also felicitate a friend, philosopher, and guide of the Institute, respected Dr. Shivendra Kargaonkar. Now, I would like to ask Kani Sir to felicitate respected Mr. Kayal Sir. I also ask Kani Sir to felicitate Mr. and Mrs. Shivendrakar. Mr. and Mrs. Ambe. I would also like to ask Kani Sir to felicitate Sumedha Madam. I also ask Kani Sir to felicitate Madhuri Madam. Now, I request Ankur Kani Sir to felicitate Mansrekar Ma'am. Now, I request the chairman of our college, Dr. Vijay Bedekar Sir, to guide us and give us his blessings.
आपल्याला यांचे विचार ऐकायचे आहेत. मी त्यांना विनंती करीन की लवकरात लवकर त्यांचं भाषण आपण चालू करूया. धन्यवाद.
Thank you, sir. A person without knowledge is like a tree without roots, and that is why archaeology is important. Anthropology is the study of past humans and cultures through material remains and is thus connected with archaeology. This is one of the many reasons that makes Dr. Veena Mushrif Tripathy Madam's lecture today very significant. Dr. Veena Mushrif Tripathy is an associate professor at Deccan College, Postgraduate and Research Institute, Pune, which is a well-known institute for studies in archaeology and ancient Indian history and culture. She is in charge of the Anthropology Laboratory at the institute. The only working lab studies human skeletal remains from archaeological context. She has been working in this field for last 24 years and has published 4 monographs. She has around 60 research papers in national and international journals. She had around 7 projects and is currently working on a project in Ladakh which is funded by the National Geographic Society. She is one of the few researchers who are specialized in this subject. She is also interested in paleopathology, which is the studies of ancient diseases. It is indeed an honor to be in the presence of an esteemed person like Dr. Veena Mushrif Tripathy Madam. Now, I request Madam to please take over.
Okay, good morning. And before I start my presentation, I would like to thank Dr. Bedekar, sir, and Sumedha Bedekar, ma'am, and Oriental Institute, Thane, and Bedekar College for inviting me and getting connected with the students and letting my subject to know to all of you. I thank you, Ankur Kani, Mr. Ankur Kavi, I call him an Ankur because he was the person who initiated this talk and everything. So I hope he continues doing these kind of things, inviting some of the scholars who are working in this field. And thank you so much for being here. You also. So as you can see here, like my title here, 1 minute, let me see if it is. Okay, yeah. So I will talk about the skeletons from archaeological collections. And as you can see here, there are 2 skulls. These are modern skulls. These are not the archaeological because it's very difficult to transport archaeological skulls from labs and bringing it here. So it is difficult and it is not possible also. So I got just for the representation. So my presentation here will be divided into these 3 things like anthropology. What is actually anthropology? What are the different branches of anthropology? And what is skeletal findings, different types of skeletal findings from archaeological settings. And the last will be various types of studies what we do in archaeological skeletons. So when we talk about archaeology, anthropology basically, it is a holistic subject. Holistic means it talks about everything under the sky related to humans. So it can be economical point of view, political point of view, social, cultural, physical, molecular, biological, everything and anything about human is considered an anthropological study. It can study anything from like tribal communities to just a modern community staying woman status in middle class families or like this. Okay, so anything and everything. So it is, that is why it is called as a holistic science, holistics, because it studies everything. So here the anthropological studies has been divided into these four major branches. So one is biological anthropology, which has again subdivision of genetics, evolution, fossil record, biodiversity, primatology, everything. Or archaeology. Archaeology means everything studies by human past, like historical archaeology, cultural archaeology, everything which is coming under the archaeological branches. Then next is a cultural anthropology, which is relates to the culture, human culture. So that all gets covered in anthropology, that is cultural anthropology. Linguistic anthropology means the language, studies of language. It is not just the studies of language, how that language has evolved through ages and how that led to the development of brain. Because when we speak or when we understand others' language, there is process what happens behind here. So we try to understand how it is being done, what are the words and other things. So it is not just the language, but it's the biology takes also an important place here. So there are, as I told you, four branches, like just to give you a briefly, physical anthropology, biological anthropology, which deals with the biological origin. Like if you have seen like how we evolved, like Australopithecine, if you have heard about Australopithecine, or Neanderthals probably you have heard, or you have heard about Homo erectus, Homo habilis, all these things. So these are the fossil record, how we became, why we became like what we are today. Are we still evolving? Yes, we are still evolving today. Okay, so there are, the evolutionary changes, the genetic diversity, and not only just the fossil record, but genetic diversity, why we are so different from each other on the phenotypic, means how we look. But genetically, we are so close. We are not very different. So we are not different from each other. Even we talk about like the Caucasians, like in America, or we are talking about African population, or we talk about Japanese population or South Asian population. Genetically, we are almost same. Slight difference is there, but phenotypically means how we look, it's different completely. So that is the physical, biological. Then cultural anthropology, as I told you, it's a complex process. Anything non-biological, other than our body, whatever we are doing, it's a culture. Like how we speak, how we wear, how we discuss, how we think, how we behave. Every aspect which is not biological comes under the cultural anthropology. Then archaeology, as I told you, it's about the past, which is 100 years before whatever case, it starts the archaeological domain. And then the linguistic studies beside the language aspect, linguistic anthropology also tries to understand biological implications about it. There are certain languages, they are dead. We do not have any record, not written, not oral or anything. There are several languages still dead. So there are Anthropological Survey of India, they are trying to record these dying languages. Okay, their oral history, their traditions and everything, taking photographic documentation, videography and other thing. So they are trying to kind of create a library for that. So within that, these branches are actually for our benefit, because it's, as I told you, anthropology is a holistic subject. It's very difficult. Even though I do masters in anthropology, I have to take certain specialized field, because it's not possible to anyone in this world to study everything. So for us, it becomes to divide the science, divide the subject into minor things. So when we talk about biological anthropology, here what we can see here is we are having primatology, studying about primates. Jane Goodwill, if you remember, she worked on chimpanzees. So primatology. So primatology is basically studying primates. which helps us to understand how our fossil ancestors lived their life, how they connected with each other, how. So the primates, because we come from that land, that place. Then the molecular biology, as I told you, genetically we are very close to each other. So what is the genetical structure between each population, how it is been, you know, how it has been modified. There are certain, like if you see this Nobel Prize was, last year's Nobel Prize was given to the Pablo that who studied Neanderthal DNA, Denisovans DNA. Okay, or a paleoanthropology, which is the study of fossil record, or forensic anthropology. If you have seen that there is one series, forensic anthropology, Bones. If you see Google Bones, there are like several, 7-8 seasons. Each season has 20 episodes. So it's a more of a forensic, or in Indian version is CID. If you have seen CID, it's not the right way to do, but it is just to tell you. Okay, so then the bioarchaeology, that is my domain, like I study bioarchaeology. So, and the human biology, again living populations being studied molecular way or cultural way or anything. So that is a biological. I just go fast because this is like paleoanthropology, like we're studying the fossil record. Then I told you about this primatology, studying the primates and everything, like studying, understand how they are behaving, how they have evolved, how they have used tools. There is recently study happened in Thailand, like earlier we thought that there are some tools were made by the fossil humans, but now the recent study says that certain primates, certain orangutans and chimpanzees are able to make stone tools, primitive stone tools, not the very complex stone tools, but primitive stone tools. So now there is an entire, now they have to see whether who made these tools. So again, that is a big problem, it is happening. Then forensic anthropology, that is the bone series which I was talking about. So if you just do it, there is she's a forensic anthropologist and she tries to understand the murderers and other thing. It's too far-fetched, but it's really interesting. If you get hold of them, please go and see it. It's really lovely. So that is a forensic, like seeing the skeleton from the legal point of view. So most of my methodologies are based on forensic anthropology. Whatever they use, like for the age estimation, sex determination or anything, it is based on forensic, whatever methodologies are there from the forensic point of view. Then the molecular biology, as I told you, like there are lot of studies are being conducted in molecular. It is very recent field. It is just hardly 20-30 years old molecular biology. It is they do what some, there is an ideal thing is like if you do the genetic analysis of the ancient population and try to see the modern population collection, that is also that can be done. So we have to see the population affinities, means how one population is close to other population, or how the population has migrated. Like there are a lot of people have migrated from one place to another. It's like a continuous migration. Like if you see thousands and millions of years, like we left Africa some millions years ago and we populated the entire world. So we can see that molecular evolution or molecular diversion into different areas. So that is also possible, how they are related to each other and how it is possible. Not just that, even the certain diseases, how which particular disease is prone in certain population. Okay, it is based on our genetic makeup, how we are able to survive in certain diseases, infection diseases, or what is the congenital, means birth, from the birth you are having certain diseases. So all those things. Then this is my topic is osteoarchaeology / bioarchaeology. Osteo means bone, and study of bones basically. It's trying to understand the past life ways through bones. So bones, humans' bones. I do not work on animal bones. My specialization, there are certain people who work on certain archaeozoologists who works on animal bones. There are certain people who work on fossil animals. So they are different. So I work on the people from 10,000 years onwards. So that is not a fossil, that is Homo sapiens sapien. Not a before that. It's very difficult to work on before that people. So what we see from the burials, what these skeletons comes from the burials. They are being buried in different layers in different sites, and that is why we study the burial practices associated artifacts from an important aspect of life is, because when you bury someone with the respect, with the thing, so you can get some idea about their conscious, what they were thinking about their loving people, or how they were burying it, whether they are putting it properly, or they are just throwing the body, or they are cremating, they are partially burying the dead, like we call it as a primary context, secondary context, or symbolic, or just what we do is today we cremate and then we collect the ashes and then we put somewhere. Earlier they used to make megalithic monuments, like building the stone structures. Okay, so all those things. So and they are very fragmentary. So we have to. You are seeing the complete skull here, but when we get in archaeological context, they are just fragmentary conditions. So we have to rebuild entire thing and try to understand. It is not a very easy job. It's very frustrating most of the time because we do not get complete skeleton, but we try to make some sense of it while studying it. Okay, so these are the people actually created a strong base for osteoarchaeology or biological archaeology in India. Like Professor Iravati Karve, she was the first anthropologist in Deccan College, and she one of her student, K.C. Malhotra, Dr. K.C. Malhotra, she pushed the K.C. Malhotra to study the human skeletal remains from Langanaj, and they tried to get some collaboration from Germany at that time. And then the Kennedy, K.R. Kennedy, he was the person actually who pushed this subject in South Asia mainly because he studied Pakistan, Sri Lanka and India skeletal remains. He created the base, and then his student John Lucas, he again further proceeded into in the skeletal study. And this is my guide, my mentor, Professor Walimbe, who established Deccan lab, the anthropology lab in Deccan College, and which is still continuing. And this is the only lab in India who is working on archaeological skeletons, and it is going strong, I guess, because I am his student. I am continuing this job further. So coming to the skeletal collection, anytime you feel I'm too fast, just raise your hand. Okay, I speak very fast most of the time. So these are the things like when we see the skeletal collection from India, archaeological, we divide them into different culture. Like we always see skeletons from the context. It is not just a skeleton from Mesolithic is the same and then the medieval it is same. It is not. We have to see which cultural context they belong. So here we are having hunting gathering population, bronze is Harappans, you are well aware of, then the early agro-pastoral communities, then megalithic pastoral communities, and historical, pre-modern and other populations coming from that. So if you see here, so this is Harappan. Then these are the new, this is hunting gathering Sarai, Uttar Pradesh and that area. This is Deccan Chalcolithic where we are having, you might have heard these names, Deccan Chalcolithic, probably. If you are not, then this is the Deccan Chalcolithic where the Chalcolithic means copper and lithic, is stone, copper and stone tools. They were using, the cultures, they were using copper, chalcolithic stones. Okay, Chalcolithic. That is why it is called as a Chalcolithic. Then megalithic, like entire this Vidarbha and down south. Maybe you have heard about something like Keladi, recent excavation in Tamil Nadu, if you have heard. So these are the megalithic population or early historic population here somewhere, and the historical which is spread everywhere. So I'm not going to bore you showing these maps. Okay, but just to tell you, like there are certain sites which provides us human skeletal remains in India. So they are, as you can see, the Mesolithic and other, they are very few. Once you start going further in the chronology, like around, this is Chalcolithic, which is somewhere around 2000 BCE. Or so there are a lot of sites which has skeletal remains. These are like megalithic culture, which has more, like huge number of sites are there. There are around 50, 54, and then there are early historic. So huge number of sites are there. This is interesting for you to see. This is a typical mega Saraina Rai, which I told you about, Mesolithic population. The people who were using stone tools only. It comes around 8000 BCE or 10,000 years old. Okay, Sarai Nahar, it is one of the site in Uttar Pradesh. So you can see there are 3 individuals buried together here. Okay, it's a pit or it is mass burial. If you see in today's context, it is mass burial. This is individual primary burial. This is from Mahadaha. Again, you can see it's a primary burial. This has been cut by some post-excavation thing, but it is what you see is a skeletal remains. Then this is a Chalcolithic. As you can see, there is a child buried here. Okay, this is somewhere around 5 years old child. This is from the Mehergarh, which is Neolithic. Neolithic means new lithic, new stone tool technology, what we use it. So it is like that. So you can see it has a, that individual had a folded leg and it is sleeping on one side, which has a offering or pot. Here also you can see the offerings. Then here this is a Chalcolithic, typical Chalcolithic twin burial. Okay, twin urn burial, sorry. Twin urn burial. What it tells you is they are created kind of a coffin using 2 pots like this. Okay, you can see this is a one pot, this is another pot. They are like in the mouth to mouth they are kept, and inside that you can see the child burial. A child, a very like infant, less than 1 year, sometimes stillborn, sometimes 1 year old, sometimes 2 year old, very tiny individuals buried in this kind of a burial way. If you remove these pots, you can see here the child is been kept, exposed twin urn burial here. So it's very important how they are being buried. Okay, in this way they are kind of a coffin, so the preservation of these skeletal remains are much better if you just lying down the burial without any protection. So basically all the soil and all these pots are helping the child's skull because they are very delicate one. So for that we are getting the bones from this context, which means they are preserved very well because of these types of burial practice. Okay, sorry. Okay, this is again from the Chalcolithic burial from Inamgaon, which is 2000 year, means from here, now if you say 4000 years back. So you see here, there is a man and a woman buried together. This is twin burial. Okay, so unfortunately there is no infection on them and no DNA studies could be done, because in Indian context DNA study cannot be done because the preservation is not very good. The climate, our climate is not suitable for the preservation of DNA. So it is not possible to get DNA, but they are actually, the man is holding the woman. And it's a one-time event, because there is no, archaeologically we can say very surely that this is a one-time event. It is not 2 events we are seeing here. Okay, like the first the man has died and then later on the woman has been placed. No, it is a one-time event only. And you can see lot of burial pots around the, so it is properly laid burial. Okay, properly with all the care has been taken to keep these 2 bodies in the pit. And here there are 3 individuals, again there are all 3 children buried. This is a pit burial from it. And interestingly, in archaeological context, they found grass impression. So the bodies were kept on the grass and it was covered with the grass. So you can see the kind of respect the bodies were given. So we can see about their cultural ties and other thing through the skeletal, not only just the biology, but as I told you, the culture, when we talk about culture. So we can think about that culture as well. This is very interesting from Inamgaon. This site was excavated by Dr. Dhaulikar, Professor Dhaulikar, in 1980s, 70s onwards, Inamgaon site. So here, only two these kind of burials were found, which has a 4-leg jar. Okay, the body is being put inside that jar, and only two these kind of things. So according to him, this burial belongs to some chief of that village, probably. Okay, because it has a very significant way of burying their burial practice. It's not seen very regularly in regular context. So most likely, according to his interpretation, this probably was giving to some different social status or economical status or that kind of a status. So through burial, how they are burying, we can try to understand their cultural status or social status or economic status as well, which is not one-to-one, but we try to understand that. This is again the disturbed burial, which you already seen. Why I am putting it again? Because there is a one skull cap here. So probably this burial was earlier was for someone else. They have forgotten that someone was buried. They re-dig the same area and put that skeleton again, some another skeleton. Here, this is from the Balathal. You can see it has been kept in a sitting posture. Okay, so if you see today's Lingayats also, they bury their dead like sitting posture. Okay, so he is not Lingayat, but you can see these kind of things in archaeological context as well. So with that, as I was telling you about their cultural practices, their way how we can identify. Here the child has been buried, along with there is a goat horn kept nearby. Okay, so there is some kind of offerings to the body, some way of offering. Okay, here you can see this is a single urn burial and the entire goat skeleton has been kept. Okay, so again, maybe some rider after the life, so they believed life after death. That's why they offered pots, they offered food, they offered drinking things. Probably we do not know whether they put the water or anything, we don't know because we cannot say about it. But they put some kind of a food in the pots. Might be some grains, because there are certain evidences of grains in the burial context. Okay, some milk in certain, there are isotope analysis, so some kind of a milk kind of a thing, like they were kept along with the skeleton. So they believed the life which was there, and then so they believed that the person will need food and everything after life also, after death also. So they buried along with it. So here you can see. This is known as an extended burial, like full entire skeleton lying on the, like if we say it is an extended burial. So here what you see again, the pots are been kept near the, so Harappans, they generally go for the pots kept on the head or near the feet, mainly on the top of the head. So the placement of the pots also tells you about how they were keeping, how the burial structure is being created, like how the pit has been kind of decorated. We cannot say decorated, but how it has been arranged. Okay, here also, but here you can see there is only one pot. So it was not necessary that everyone should get the same type of treatment. There is a variety of treatment given to variety of people. Probably they belong to different class, different status, different maybe male, female, children. We are not able to see because we are not able to get that much data in the burial. So we cannot be sure that but there seems to be some kind of a pattern. Okay, so similar, not exactly same, but similar. There is a difference in that. Then we are having double burial. Okay, so as I told you, in the Harappan context, there are two individuals which are buried together. Here, this is again Rakhigadi, which has lot of, you can see the number of pots. There are sometimes, there are 13 pots are being kept in the burial chamber. So it's not only one pot, two pots, it's a variety of pots, decorated pots. This is megalithic burial. This is known as a cremated or a secondary type of burial practice. Means you cremate a person, okay, collect the bones, and then you create a megalithic monument and you pit. So you get these kind of Warmian or a green condition, Warmian marks. This is known as a Warmian. So we know that burying with the green condition means the flesh is still attached to the body, which means a cremation. Okay, the cremation has been taken place, they have collected it. So through that there are various studies are being done, how much temperature was achieved by those people, because if you burn a body, how much temperature is required, how much, what kind of fuel is being used, because with every fuel, whatever it is, the coloration changes. There is a cream color, there is a yellowish coloring, there is black coloring, there is various types of, so the material which is being used, the how much temperature is being used, is there any preference of parts of while collecting. So some may be collecting one skull portion, some teeth, some long bones, or some feet portion. So what exactly, what type of collection they have done. So that kind of analysis is also being done. So while studying these cremated bones. This is a cis burial, again a megalithic. This is from Kodumanal. So they created kind of a coffin again with this, using the stone slabs and putting the body in the. So again, the preservation is slightly better than other. So this is again in a Padmasana posture, but it is on a lying. It's not sitting. Okay, the person is lying and they have kept the folded properly. This is a child again. This is very interesting site called Rupkund. National Geography had funded it in 2003. This documentary was published, was in the air actually. So this is the lake, glacial lake in Uttarakhand, and then the skeletons were found all over the edges of this. Okay, and then because of the high altitude and they were covering almost like 9 months under the snow, so we could do the DNA analysis, and as well as the flesh was still preserved. And we did the, Professor Valime was the main lead in this particular studies. At that time I was just a student, PhD student. But then these studies were done. But this is one of the interesting findings from Indian context where DNA study was possible to get. This is Sanjan, Dakma. This is a Parsi cemetery. Again, this is a very interesting skeletal finding. Professor, Kurush Dalal was excavated this particular site. Shivendra and we were excavating actually this Dakma. We were together excavating this, and we found bones collected in the well. So the Parsi, if you know that how their Tower of Silence is, this is the model of that, and they keep the body here, and then whatever is remaining they put in the middle of the well, and we excavated that. This becomes somewhere around 14th-15th century AD, and DNA was possible, and this is very interesting and important because every bone which entered here is Parsi. So this is very ideal situation to study, because in archaeological situation, when we get skeleton, we do not know which population they belong. So they can be anyone, because as I told you, there is always a movement of population. There is people are migrating from one place, so we don't know with whom we are dealing actually in archaeological. But here we know that we are dealing with Parsis. Okay, and Parsi organization funded this this excavation. So they wanted to know who are these guys, and what was interesting that as you know that it's an endogamous group, like they do not marry outside their community. But with the DNA analysis and with dental morphological features, what we could identify is there is the Parsi men had relationship with the Maratha females around around it. So it's a very natural, normal thing which has, but it was not as endogamous what they think was. Okay, and they know about these results, they are okay with that idea. So we are saved. But this is very interesting thing, what we identify from the Sanjat. So next to that, it was a cemetery called Kori Khadi. Next to Dakhma, there was, and this was like 6 skeletons we could identify here, like, and interestingly, when I studied the morphological features of this Parsi population and this Kori Khadi, they are quite different. So the population is different, we know archaeologically also, anthropologically also, and obviously biculturally also. So it is a very interesting site in a way, where this is from Nagaland. There are different types. This one is from the urn burials where the skeletons were put here. This is from Kerala, and these are from the West Bengal, Bihar. Why I am showing, you can see the variety of burial practices in Indian context. Like they are burying in a different ways from different places with belonging to the different chronological backgrounds, where other things, cultural background. So we need to understand, this is from the West Bengal. This is a medieval cemetery where you can see the lying on the same way. And there was a child also here. Where is the child? Yeah, this is a child. The child was buried here. So this is like we are getting, and I was fortunate to study most of the burials, what you are seeing here, the skeletal material. So when we talk about the laboratory analysis, what kind of work I do, so it's like unpacking, cleaning, restoration. That is one of the identification which part they are, like whether they are humerus, it's a femur or other thing. Then there is like demographical profile, like how many females are there, how many males are there, how many children are there, other thing. Then the stature estimation, how tall that individual was, sexual dimorphism, and then the very few time I can identify the cause of death, but most of the time it is not possible. 99% it is not possible. One time only we can tell that why that person, maybe there is a blow in the head, or where there is some kind of a fracture or some kind of thing, like other thing. So and then the sex determination, biological age, what was the age of that particular individual. So when we talk about the preservation chart, we generally create these kind of preservation chart. Like in one go, we highlight the bones which are present in the collection. So in one go, we know that these are the bones preserved in the collection. So this is how we create. Then, okay. So here we do the age estimation for the children. I think so you can get idea about it very clearly. But these are the teeth which are forming inside the jaw, and these are so this is a child which is somewhere around 5 to 6 year old, where the teeth deciduous. So you know that there are two sets of teeth. One is milk teeth or deciduous teeth, or there is permanent teeth which remains throughout your life if you don't break them in between. But so these are the permanent teeth which are still growing in the jaw, and these are the deciduous or milk teeth. So according to this is a kind of a calendaric sequence. Like when you see the child, infant around 1 year old, there this teeth starts coming out, isn't it? So we know that it is somewhere around 9 months to 1 year old. So accordingly, we do this kind of analysis. Like so, this is the X-ray of another child. So where you can see this is a permanent first molar, this is a deciduous molar. So we can identify based on the dental the crown calcification, the root formation, and tooth eruption. Other than the dentition, the skeleton. like the bones, development of bones. So again, so when we are when we are young, we are having more number of bones because the extremities are separated. Once we become adult, around 18-year-old, the bone completes the fusion and it becomes one. So that is also calendaric sequence, like when. But once around 25 onwards, our all teeth are erupted. So how to age? How to get the biological age of that individual? So we use dental attrition, because the more you use your teeth for grinding your food, the more wear it happens. So if you see the teeth of 20-year-old, 40-year-old and 60-year-old, if they are still in the jaw, then you can identify the wear pattern of those teeth. Okay, so again, but it is not one-to-one, because the kind of food you eat, the kind of which side you use the jaw, you are having always a preference of eating the food. Okay, either you eat with this or you don't use both ways. Okay, so the one side will be more weared off than the other side. So what kind of food you are, whether you are eating semi-cooked food, you are eating raw food, or whether you are eating non-veg, when you are eating. Now, most of the times what happens, we gulp food, we don't eat. Okay, so our wear is less, our carries are more, because we eat lot of carbohydrates, we eat lot of sugar. So we lose teeth very fast. So all those things, so we have to calculate all those things, and then we have to identify the age of that individual. Then I think so I should be little fast, because okay. Okay, then coming to the sex identification of the skeleton. So we use certain criteria on the skull. There are certain muscular markers on males we consider as more masculine than the females. Okay, so we use certain criteria like robustness of these areas, like and then we do it. I just give you just glimpses, because it will take some time to understand you to all these things. So I'm talking about the youngsters, okay, I'm sorry. But the pelvic bones, like pelvic bone where the sciatic notch is there, which again changes into male to female, because female requires a place to, she requires a larger space to keep the baby in the womb. So there is a wide in the dimension than the males. So there's here, her sciatic notch is more greater than the males. So this is how we do different assessment, and then we try to identify whether it's a male skeleton or a female skeleton. There are certain morphological features we do it on the skeleton, which helps us to understand the population affinities between the thing. These are kind of morphological, like extra bones within the skull, which are related to the genetic component of the population. If male, the father and mother have having an extra bone, these are not pathological, these are morphological, then there is every possibility child will also have that kind of a extra bone. So these kind of things, so again with the dental morphology also we can do that. So these are kind of caribelicus, then these are like wrinkles, different types of, this is a caribelicus, these are shovelings thing. Then paleopathology, which is my interesting field, I like that. So study of ancient diseases, like pseudopathological means these kind of changes we feel that they are pathology, but they are actually morphological in origin, like taphonomical. When you bury someone, there is always water, soil, climate, they changes the texture of the bones. So that also we can see it on the bones. So these are the congenital by birth, like spina bifida, like the open spinous processes, then the cleft palate, then trigonocephaly, means this portion is like a triangle, and then the Stephanie defect. Then these are the non-specific infection. So this kind of a porosity on the, this is a infant, this is actually not even a 1-month-old child. Still that child shows lot of porosity, infection thing, so which tells you about the, not only about the child but about the mother's health as well. So mother was not well, that can be also seen through these kind of indirect evidences, or these kind of infections, non-specific, which means we know that there is some problem, but we cannot specify which particular problem it has. But there are like triponormal infection or a syphilis, where is a specific infection. We know that this particular disease is because of this particular pathology. So these are the things we can see. Or leprosy, that is, sorry. This is the leprosy. This is one of the well-documented specimen from Balathal and most cited specimen from India. This has a leprosy infection on it, which is not seen very regularly in skeleton, because not many leprosy patients are in the. So these are different types of fractures we see, which are healed fractures. They are not unhealed, they are healed fractures. Means the person survived with all these fractures. Then these are like, this is actually when I talk about the reason for death. Okay, so this one. So this is from Rupkund. What it shows is the, like it's a blunt object trauma to the skull. Okay, this is from Rupkund. So basically this is population which got stuck in the high altitude lake, near lake, and like a hailstorm, like, and the hail, which is somewhere around cricket ball size, has stuck to that, and because of that, that person has died. So this is one of the very rare evidences of the cause of death. Then these are like arthritis issues. Most of the elderly people, including myself, also having a problem of the arthritic. So these are the knee arthritic when we see, okay, where you are having the problem with the knee. When this is known as a joint disease problem, so different types of joint diseases. Then this is infection related or the nutrition deficiencies. Nutrition deficiencies and infection, they are synergetically related. If you are infected, even though you eat lot of good food, healthy food, the body cannot digest it. And if you are not able to do that, if you are malnourished, you become prone to infection diseases. So it is synergetically related to each other. So different types of, so this is a iron deficiency anemia we can identify from the skull. This is a cribra orbitalia, which is again an iron deficiency, where again it is related to the infection like iron deficiency. Then this is a very interesting pathology. I will not take much time to explain you, because this is known as a maxillary sinusitis, the sinus problem. We know that there are sinuses. There are certain people having sinus problem, okay. So basically there are hollow spaces in your body, in your skull. There are two sinus here, one is here and two on the maxillary. So if you inhale impure air continuously, your maxillary floor gets infected. So this is what happened with this female, about 18-year-old from Nevasa, and probably how we can what you can say, reconstruct the culture is that she was probably we are having the plan of a house, so we know what kind of houses they were living in. So we know that if she is cooking for 4 people in indoor cooking, and if they are using the wood as a fuel, so she is continuously inhaling that the smoke coming out of it. So that might have resulted these kind of infection to her, and it causes a lot of. So we did ethnography. One of our students did ethnographic studies on that, and we could identify the reasons behind it. Then these kind of stress related, like if you use particular part of your body or a skeleton, that creates a different markers on your, so here what you see in the clavicle. So if you remember, like earlier we used to do that grinding. So if you are using every day, it's a chronic thing. If you are doing every day this for 2 hours, then your the clavicle, this is like a collarbone, it gets modified because of the continuous use of it. Okay, so these kind of things can be Then coming to the dental pathologies, like this is known as a tartar accumulation. When you don't clean your teeth properly, you have to go to the doctor for the cleaning your teeth. Basically, it's a cementum. It's like a thick cement. So we can get, this is good for us, not for that person. Because if you do the chemical analysis of this, we can identify individual diet through the analysis of this tartar. So it is good for us. And then you are having dental fluorosis, like if you are having excessive fluorine intake through your water, your color of the teeth changes. But it is not only that. The extra fluorine intake can result into the weakening of your bones. There is a mental retardation also happens if you use excessive. So we get these kind of glimpses through skeletons, like probably they had something like, then the excessive atresion here, what you see, where you are having entire losing of the crown. Then this is a caries infection, or where you are having the tooth is almost lost, half of the tooth, and there is a pus cavity. Means if the dead cell, taking out the dead cell, there is a pus cavity has happened here and here, which is known as a caries infection here, and periodontal disease like this. Pus cavities, and this is also happens in the because of the antemortem tooth loss. This is one of the reasons. Then there is some known as a hypercementosis, means the thickening of the root of the teeth. This is not from India, this is from Thailand. This is a cultural modification. There are certain cultural modification, changing the skull shape, changing of your, like lotus feet, if you remember about, Chinese, like they tie, because that was a beauty standard for them. Okay, or creating your own status, social status, your cultural status. So this is a long neck Karen from Thailand. You have to pay them to take photo with this. Okay, so what happens is they put brass rings and it looks like the neck has increased the length. So this is a normal x-ray of the person, like normal, and this is with the long neck. So basically what happens is the length do not reduce, increases. This goes down because of the heaviness. This is actually 6 to 7 kg. Of the rings, brass rings they put around the neck. So because of that continuous using of it, it gives an illusion that the neck has increased, but this has gone down basically. Okay, then I'm coming to the national geography. These are 3-4 slides, I think, so I'm in time. So this is actually we did excavation and which was funded by National Geography. So this is the site near the Kargil. There is a Gashu Labor, and these are the collaborative institute. And what we saw here is there is a cave here, and inside this is the cave entrance. This is actually the cave. Okay, inside there was lot of, you have to go actually down in the gully kind of, and it's very scary most of the time, and you see lot of bones lying around on the floor of the cave. Okay, so we came to know from the villagers about this particular cave, and we wanted to study them. So we went there, we did the excavation. So this is how it was. So we had to put lights and everything, and then it's a very cold, very dry, and even if you want to go out, it takes 5 to 10 minutes to climb up and then go out for your primary business also. But it was a quite nice, interesting thing, because we had really interesting findings through that. And after the taking out the burial, so bones, what we did is we explained the villagers about the what are the studies can be done, how we can identify, and how we are going to do. So currently the work is going on. One of my PhD student is working on that collection, and we are trying to, and again we are getting the DNA and studies from this. So it is going to be, I think so within 6-7 months you will see the documentary based on the analysis. If you are interested, I will let you know. And thank you. And I would like to show 2 minutes film based on that how I went down. So it's there. So yeah. 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 So this is what we were going to the fourth room of that cave from National Geography. So you have to literally bend and go.
कम ऑन मैम आ जाइए आराम से कहाँ पे है इधर आ जाइए
I will just show for 1 minute. Nothing.
सीधा 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 जाओ जाओ सौरभ बैठा ना
It was very scary
आ
actually.
जाइए इधर से आ जाइए
यहाँ पे हाँ जहाँ सौरभ है वहाँ पे टनल दिखेगा आपको हाँ वहाँ पे जाइए
इधर
I can. I'll just keep this here, conscious.
मैं हूँ पीछे देने के लिए जाओ
हाँ, ले जाओ. Can I go in this?
First entrance was a cave, then you go down, there is a one more room, and then you go from there to the another room.
आराम से मैम आराम
There is going to be one more room, and then it was going, the roof collapsed, that's why we could not go further, but you can see the bones lying all over the place there. So we think that there was a burial practice which where they were just keeping the bodies of dead people because they consider the higher you go in the mountain, you are more closer to the god. So probably that is their concept behind keeping this. And within the cave, they consider that we will not, they will not get disturbed after the death. So that could have been one reason. So you go down there, we cannot go further because it's the roof has been collapsed there.
Shallow है थोड़ा ये शायद यहाँ से हो गया
So it was quite difficult journey.
yeah
So you can see some bones actually go down there.
do you want to sit आराम से
You want back?
हाँ no no धीरे धीरे सोनम तुम्हें जाने देना ना ऐसे देख रही
Okay, thank you.
Education is the premise of progress in a society as well as a family. Knowledge gives us power, however, it is information that truly liberates us. Thank you, ma'am, for providing us with thought-provoking and engrossing information throughout the lecture. We will now start with the question and answer session. So if anyone has questions, you can please ask.
Hello. Hello, ma'am. My question over here is that the recent excavations which happened in Rakhighari, how valid they are in actually debunking the Aryan invasion theory, because there are ample of literary sources which can be quoted in this context, but literary sources have minimal importance when it comes to archaeology. So how valid is are the findings at Rakhighari excavation in actually debunking, or does it have a say in proving whether the Aryan invasion theory was right or wrong?
Okay, first of all, thank you. It's a really interesting question, and I would love to answer that, because there is no Aryan invention. Okay, there is no. Since 1980s, when Kennedy started working on Harappa Mohenjo-daro skeletons, from then onwards he was stressing that point. There is no invention, there is no clear-cut evidence of any trauma or anything based on skeleton. So there is no invention. What we are seeing is today, we are seeing from DNA analysis, what they are doing, there is one problem with Rakhighari DNA is that it's only one individual they could identify, not me. I was not in the part of that team, entire team, but it's only one individual. And even though that individual represents the ancestry of few more population, few more people, but it is not sufficient. But because if you see Harappa as a urban center, so you will have people coming from several places for trading for different things. So it is not only one person can tell the story about whether there is no invasion. There is not at all, no dental morphology, no skeleton, no DNA is telling about that. So first of all, remove that and there is no even the literally data to support, either to support it or either to, not telling that it was not. But it is not there, definitely. 110% you can get it by writing also. But the thing is, what we see is they are talking about this is the entire same population what we are seeing in Indian. Like earlier there was 2-3 inferences, like whether someone came from outside or from, we went outside, okay? But it is both ways, because it's a population movement. Okay, not only some few people will always come from outside. It is not like Bombay is, like people from other part will come to Bombay. Bombay people will also go out, isn't it? Even though we consider, that is not invention. And invention has a completely different meaning. You should have weapons, because you are invading someone. Okay, migration is there, definitely. Everything is migrating. Everyone is migrating from one part to another part. If you see even the early historic point of view, Greeks came, Kushanas came. Okay, later on different people came to India, or India what we call it as a today's geographical condition. Earlier it was a landmass. We didn't needed any passport to move from another place, isn't it? So it was a one landmass, people were moving from one place to another. Okay, so there is no. So, and one DNA cannot tell us the story of the Harappans. So it's we can say, okay, there is a good direction to say, but it's the same population we are moving within the geographical region. That. Is it clear now?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Any more questions, please?
it was an endogamous group. It is an endogamous group, but they fled from Iran with the Muslim invasion. They fled from there. The few of the Parsis came to India to settle in Gujarat border. Okay, they requested the Gujarat, that king, and they said that we want to settle down. And so the Gujarat, that king, I forgot his name. Huh? No. Huh? Jade Rana. Yes, thank you. So he allowed them to settle down, but it's a natural process. Once you do, you mingle with the local females. Yeah. No, they were endogamous. They were endogamous, but few of them got mingled with the local population, and then they got the but still today they are an endogamous group. Still today. No, today also you find some of the Parsis getting married out of their without Parsis. Our friend is also there, one of them. Yeah. So it's not endogamous. Few of them got married, so it's a normal thing. But they are, by concept, they are endogamous group. Not everybody got outside, or not everybody became very strict to their thing. Few of them got mixed with them. Huh. Yes.
So there also the burials, they too take place right in front of their houses, and 1 year after the other. So by any chance, if you find out some burials like this, which are there in front of a particular population which was living, will it be possible for us to understand the inheritance of a particular family through that?
In Nagaland, we have this urn burials. I showed you one only photograph in that. What they do is, they after the death, they collect the bones, they keep it in the cave, collect the bones in the urn and keep it. So today also, they have their ancestry there. Like, okay, they don't want them to be touched, because they believe that their ancestors are still living there. And they cannot be, so generally what happens is, when we go, and if the local population say that don't touch our burials, we don't touch it. Because it relates to the emotion, it relates to the everything. So we don't generally go and disturb
most of the northeast places, or even in Bhutan, all this practice is there.
Yes. So you are having this Himalaya, trans-Himalayan region, where you are having these burials, urn burials, as well as the cave burials as well. The Mustang Valley in Nepal, they have these cave burials. On the sky burial, they are known as the sky burials. So they are having that kind of. But if they don't allow, we don't do that.
And another question I wanted to ask, you showed one man and a woman buried at the same time, which we can understand that it's a death at a time.
Yes.
But there are certain other children or placed in different times. So they have a demarcated area in which they can do the continuous burial one after the other?
Generally, they have demarcated burial grounds. Because they don't want, they had, like in Harappan context, I can tell you that they have like around 1 kilometer away from the settlement, they have burials, which most likely we believe that they don't want the dead people coming into the settlement, or sometime this uncultivable land. They want to just demarcate it as a burial, because if you use the cultivable lands, you will not able to get the food. So they want to keep away from it, and as well as using. So there is a demarcation in most of them. But when we talk about Deccan Chalcolithic population, they generally buried their dead within the settlement. So again, it depends on which culture you are dealing with. Harappans, they always had a separate burial ground, but the Chalcolithic had the burial within even the living floor, below the living floor. Today, Nagaland also, there are certain communities, they bury their dead within their family homes.
That's what.
So yeah, so there is a various types of burial practices. So we cannot say one is the right, or this is what is happening.
Thank you very much,
No
madam.
problem. Yeah, she had a question.
Namaste, ma'am. how does the genetic diversity reflect in the bone part of the thing? Because you mentioned about that Parsi community and the other Koli something community had different characteristics. So if there is no DNA, then how can that characteristics can be attributed?
So Sanjan, we did the DNA and it was successful attempt. So that's why we could identify they are slightly. And when I talk about they are different, not from the genetically point of view, on the morphology, the skeleton, the dental morphology I told you, which is related to the genetic component of it, like the typical morphological features or bones also. So they are not exactly bone structure, the markers on certain morphological markers on bones are slightly different, not completely different, slightly. So we can identify they probably belong to the separate groups. So genetic groups, obviously. And for the Sanjan, we could identify these belongs to the Parsis because of their genetic studies and when we compare that with the modern Parsi population. So that's why.
Any more questions?
Hello. My question is that, ma'am, in Jorwe, Daimabad, in most of the burial, we have seen that the dead bodies were kept chopping up the below ankles, yes, feet were chopped. Why? What is the main reason?
Okay. When there was one study done by my student on the burial postures on Inamgaon, Daimabad, what are the body posture? Interestingly, we found that their feet were intact, most of the time. Only very few they didn't had. So there is not like a general rule that the feet were chopped off for the adult. So, but when the excavator was explaining that, so one way of explanation, he said that the dead should not come back to the society. So that's why they were chopping their feet. So that was one way. But it interestingly, we didn't find everyone was having their feet chopped. So it might be for some people, they might have thought about cutting off their, feet. So probably that is the one reason.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah.
You said you care about emotions and all when it comes to burial. Do you have any experience about this, life after death in that field?
Means
Unnatural experience or something like that?
No.
Nothing?
No, I don't have that.
I was reading an excavation report of Lothal in which excavator is claiming that he has found the evidence of brain surgery in one of the skeletons. So is it really the case? And if so, then were we that advanced during Harappan period?
No, we don't have surgery evidences in Lothal, but we are having in Neolithic context, Burza home. There is a one where there is a trephination marks. Trephination means the holes they have drilled in the skull. Okay, there are, I think so, two skulls. One is to for sure, but I think so there are two where they have drilled. So according to the explanation, they said that it was probably there was some draining out some kind of a some pus or something like that. But it seems like it's more of a perimortem. Perimortem means postmortem is after death. Antemortem is before death. Perimortem is when you are not very sure which side it belongs. So probably maybe there while doing that person had died or something like that. But I don't think so. They are known as but no surgery. That is for sure. What happens is sometime because of the excavation process or because of some taphonomical changes, there are breaks which resembles like that kind of, like what happened with the Harappan or Mohenjo-daro, mainly with the Mohenjo-daro skeletons. That happened is they thought that they are fractured, but it was actually post-mortem fractures were there. It was not the actual fractures. So it's not there.
Any more questions?
Madam, my question is, which are the various methods you use for the biological age determination? One, radiocarbon dating I know, but which are the various methods, other methods? And how it is correct, how percentage-wise, by 5,000 years old or 10,000 years, how much by percentage-wise, how it is correct?
So there are like, if we find skeletons related to with the, associated with certain pottery, we use pottery as an indicator. Like if it is a Chalcolithic pottery, it is a Harappan pottery, or sometime with the other offerings like coins or some kind of artifacts that may tell us about the, otherwise the scientific method now it is AMS dating. Which is again carbon based dating method. Only that we do it, other than that we don't go for any other dating.
If you want to learn more about the dating methods in archaeology, Institute runs a course, Diploma in Archaeology. It is of 1 year. You can always join that.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Veena. Should I call you Veena because you are Veena for me?
Come on.
We both are Deccan College alumni. So my question, actually, I would like you to elaborate more on the retrieval methods of bones.
Which one?
Retrieval methods of bones. When we retrieve the method, retrieve the bones in situ, or whether they are all in different contexts. So how do we retrieve? I would like you to elaborate on that for the sake of the students, because we have...
Yeah, it will require a big entire lecture. It is not possible.
Okay, let's not elaborate, just a single or a 2-3 sentences.
No, the
on
thing
them.
is, when you are excavating, it depends on the kind of burial it is. If it is a primary burial, you have to... General method for excavating the skeleton is go slowly. Go very slowly. When you are when you start getting any type of bones in the excavation, you always trace the border of that bone. Okay, if you are finding accidentally, if you find this bone, okay, don't start digging here. You start finding the border of it. Slowly, slowly, if it is a primary burial, you might get the entire skeleton. If it is only one stray finding, you will just get one bone. But don't remove the bone until you completely expose it. That is the, I think so, summarize of form of how to excavate the skeleton.
Hello, ma'am. When they say that Aryan invasion theory is a myth, they say something R1, A1 DNA theory.
Yes.
But you said DNA is not much possible in India.
Yes.
Then this theory is actual or it's just probability?
It's one of the probability. One of the probability.
And can you explain what is that?
No, in the sense, there are various types of, say, R1, that is a haplogroups. Different types of haplogroups are there in Indian population. There is M1, M2, M3, like that. Okay, so which is the more prominently seen in that population will be considered as an Indian. Like M1 is, I think so, the Indian haplogroup pattern. So these kinds of, and these are very DNA vocabularies, which I am not very familiar with, very frankly speaking. I am not familiar with that kind of a vocabulary because that is not my area of expertise. But what I understood from their research is, like, there are certain haplogroups present, okay, in the Indian population, and one of is that what we found in the Rakhigadi. But it is not, so it shows that it's a probably the one population we are talking about, which is not having any foreign, again that foreign foreign element, how much foreign it is, again that is a problem. So that is what the summary, that is what I can tell you about. But genetically or anything, we are not having any invention, we are having a homogeneous population. From South Asia, when we talk about South Asia, again, even the Sri Lankans also, again, it's a migration, again the migration from the mainland. So but they are having some another genetic diversities also, but not, but we are having again similarity, slight similarity.
Any more questions? I'm asking again, any more questions?
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. Another question which I have in this case is that when we speak about the life after death, many parallels can be drawn between the civilization and the cultural factors which we see from the archaeological evidences in India, as well as if we see during the Pharaoh era in Egypt. Many parallels can be drawn, and they can be seen giving a lot of emphasis to life after death, including various amulets being actually found in the sarcophagus, as we say. Even the scarab beetles, which the Egyptian hieroglyphics written on it, or so in sense a lot of provisions are made for the departed soul after death. So what my question in this case is, did the concept or did the belief in the life after death, did it emerge from the natural human tendency, or was the belief imported to the other countries due to the migration of the various communities?
When we talk about, again we have to consider the chronology here. Egyptian chronology, the cultural chronology is different. When we talk about even Neolithic or Burzahom, or when we talk about the Mehergarh, or when we talk about Harappa, all those things. So it's an indigenous, it's not coming from somewhere else. It's from the, like probably, okay, there might be some general idea about the death or general fearness about the death, okay. So through that probably they might have thought about having something after death, because we don't know what happens after death. Isn't it? We still are, we don't know anything, what happens after death. So probably through that they have, so not necessary, everything comes from out. It's not necessary. Okay, it can be its own cultural context we are developing through. Okay, so nothing, there is no rule that what we see in Indian context has to come from somewhere else. Okay, or it should go from here to there also. It can be from the local development processes also, isn't it? So, and when you talk about when you talk about Egyptian, they have done mainly to the pharaohs, to the elite class. Okay, when we talk about Harappan, or when we talk about Neolithic, Chalcolithic, or when they are the common people. Okay, so the context also changes completely. So you might have found a cemetery of laborers in the Egypt. They are just laid down skeletons. But when you see the pharaohs, they are having magnificent pyramids and antiquities. So there is something different. When we talk about here, we are seeing a very simpleton people actually. Okay, so different things. We have to consider all these things before coming to any type of like hypothesis. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am, for answering all our questions. I would also like to inform everyone present here that we are launching a course on Anthropology for Archaeology, and our respected guest speaker, Dr. Veena Mushrif Tripathy Madam, is going to be the faculty for the same. The course will provide us with the opportunity to actually excavate burials and skeletons. It will be of 2 credit points and 30 hours. The fees will be 1,500 rupees, and it will be conducted in hybrid mode. The maximum number of seats available are 40. The schedule will be announced soon. Interested students should join the WhatsApp group for the Institute for Oriental Study, and a QR code for joining the WhatsApp group has been displayed right outside this auditorium. Now, I would like to thank our respected guest speaker, Dr. Veena Mushrif Tripathy Madam, for giving us insightful information. I thank our Honorable Chairman, Dr. Vijay Bedekar Sir, for providing us with this opportunity and guiding us. I would also like to thank Principal Dr. Veena Madam for her blessings and unending support. I also extend my thanks to all teachers, supportive staff, technical team, volunteers, students, and our enthusiastic audience for attending this program. We will now conclude the program with Pasardan. So I request the technical team to please start the Pasardan.
आता विश्वात्मके देवे येणे वाग्यज्ञे तोषावे तोषोनि मज द्यावे पसाय दान हे जे खळांची व्यंकटी सांडो तया सत्कर्मी रतिवाढो भूता परस्परे पडो मैत्र जीवांचे दुरिताचे तिमिर जाओ विश्वस्वधर्म सूर्ये पाहो जो देवांशील तो तेलाह प्राणी जात वर्षत सकळ मंगळी ईश्वर निष्ठांची मांदियाळी अनवरत भूमंडळी भेट तू भूता चला कल्पतरूंचे आरव चेतना चिंतामणींचे गाव बोलते जे अर्णव पीयूषाचे चंद्रमे जे अलांछन मार्तंड देता बहीण ते सर्वाही सदा सज्जन सोय रे हो तू किंबहुना सर्व सुखी पूर्ण होनी तिही लोकी भजिजो आदि पुरुषी अखंडित आणि ग्रंथोपजीविये विशेषी लोकीये दृष्टादृष्ट विजये हो आवे जी येथ म्हणे